Everyone, it's Ed from Runnable, and as promised, we're going to do the Runnable 2024 Shoe Awards. So I'll give you an idea of the format of this, okay? So we're going to kind of review shoes based on whether they're a kind of recovery run, slow run shoe, a daily trainer, a max cushion daily trainer, and we're going to have a category for race shoes, and we're also going to do trail shoe category. Just be warned, the trail shoe category won't feature many shoes because I don't own many trail shoes, but I do have one particular trail shoe, well two, but one in particular I think is really good. So I wanted to include that, and I'll also include some special mentions for shoes that don't quite make the top three of each of those sections, but I think are a good shoe anyway. And one that, you know, had I been allowed to have more than three options, they would have definitely been mentioned. Okay, so I think the first section I want to talk about today is, I'm going to go from slow to fast, but in between you've got the daily trainer and your max cushion daily trainer, which are going to be potentially a similar kind of pace that you can run in them. Just know a lot of us like this max cushion shoes, and I think ideally I'd want to keep them on their own category as well. So we can also talk about plated and non-plated throughout this awards, but I want to keep it kind of as simple as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to give you my top three easy day recovery shoes. So in third place, we have the Saucony Hurricane 24. So this is a shoe I bought a few months ago, probably around sort of August, September time. It's a shoe I really like. It's a shoe that I think if you have stability needs, this could actually be number one in this category. It's got really nice sidewalls, you can see here. It's got a nice kind of huge base to land on. It's one of the biggest base shoes that I've got actually. And you feel it when you land. It feels a little bit flappy, but it feels very stable. What I like about this shoe, apart from the stability features, I like the nice clean look of it. It's got a nice grip outsole that's really grippy. I use this on wet terrain actually, it was really good. The upper is really this nice woven mesh material that's really soft and padded. Got a really nice padded tongue and a plush heel collar and counter. It's a semi-rigid counter, quite rigid, but not as rigid as some. I had no issues whatsoever with lockdown or any aggravation in the heel. The only issue I had with this, and the only reason why it's probably third place, is it's a heavy shoe. It's around about 310 gram mark in my UK size 9. You've got a decent stack though. You know, you're looking at kind of stack out at 40 in the heel. And what I like about this shoe actually is you've got this center path technology where you've got the PIBA foam in the middle and it's framed by the EVA foam. And you can see there as well in the color difference here, you can see this EVA frame here. Yeah. So it's one of the few of these shoes actually that have got that kind of mixture of foam and this kind of framing. And what that means is, again, for stability reasons, it means that when you land, typically if it all had all PIBA foam, it would bounce you slightly left or slightly right. Whereas this, because it's locked, it's framed by some EVA, it keeps you centered. So it's called center path technology. So I would say for anybody who've got stability needs, I think this is a really, really good shoe for those easy miles, those recovery runs. So that's place number 3. Place number 2 It's one of my favourite shoes of the year, and this is the Hoka Skyward X. So yeah, this is a huge tank of a shoe. Just like the Hurricane, it's a big shoe on your foot. It's a very bouncy shoe, and what I like most about this shoe is how comfortable and bouncy and cushioned the ride is in this shoe. It's got a fabulous upper. It's a bit like the Hurricane. It's this woven mesh upper, really nice padding in the tongue and the heel, you know, and the collar. It's got a rigid heel counter that goes up quite a long way. So some people might get some irritation in their Achilles because of that. I'm not a big fan of the heel counters that come up that much, but it's by no means that I have made any major problems there with this. It's just potentially if you've got sensitive heels and Achilles, that might cause you an issue. The magic with this though is the foam. I mean, you've got this amazing Piba based foam here that's so bouncy, and you've got this concave plate. So if you can see here, this plate goes like this. So when you land, you flatten the plate and it bounces you up. It's a really nice ride, and one that I'd recommend to a lot of people. I know people, I think, was it David? He said he'd run a 5K in 2030 in this shoe. So it can actually move as well. So even though I've got it in the recovery day category, just because what a nice bounce it gives you with the Piba and that concave plate, that nice bounce upwards. You can do long miles in this. I think this would be a great shoe for very slow ultra running. Anywhere, you know, if you want to go long distance but go really slow in it, I think this would be a great shoe. I think the colorways have improved dramatically for this. This was the original colorway I wasn't a great fan of. It gets a bit mucky, but have a look around. I think this is a really good shoe, and one that, you know, often when I put this on, it feels like it's really plush. I think plush is the right word, and a comfy ride and really cushion. And you've got mass of cushion in the heel here. I think it's up at 48 millimeters. So it's one of basically the most cushioned shoes that I own. And you really feel that when you're running this shoe. So that is the Hoka Skyward X, and that gets number 2 in the easy day, the recovery run category. And my number 1, yes, you got it. It's the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V5. What a shoe this is. I mean, this is what I would say is one of the most comfortable, soft but not mushy rides shoes that I've got. You know, it's such a lovely shoe to run in. What I like about this, as well as that, is you know, it's competitively priced. I've seen this as low as £90 recently. You know, but you know, new, you know, it's around the 130, 140 mark. So it's a really good value shoe, and you get a lot of shoe with this. Again, it's a tank of a shoe, but one for doing really nice, easy miles. Like with the Skyward X, actually, you've got a nice rocker that keeps you rocking forward. I feel like this potentially is going to be a bit more of a durable shoe than the Skyward X. You can see already, you know, I've started to scuff away some of the foam on the side of the shoe. I think this shoe will last many a mile. It doesn't have the plate, the carbon plate that the Skyward X has. So it's a kind of more natural shoe to run in as well. So those of you that don't want a plate for your easy runs, this would be a good shoe to run in. It's got the Fresh Foam X. It's great foam. We've seen that with the Balos more recently. And all in all, I think this is a really nice shoe. Like I said, plush, nice upper, good grip. Yeah, I've had no issues with this grip whatsoever. A really nice midsole that's soft and cushioned, but not mushy. So you can run quickly in this shoe. And so this is my number 1 easy day recovery run shoe of 2024, the New Balance Fresh Foam X More V5. Highly recommend this shoe to anyone looking for easy miles, a shoe for easy miles. Okay, so the next category I want to talk about is the daily trainer category. Now, these are shoes that still have quite a lot of cushion. So they're all three of these are around the 40mm mark. Some might be slightly over, some slightly under. They're not what I would class as max cushion because, as we saw with the Skyward X and the More V5, there are some shoes with a lot more cushion than these. These are the kind of shoes that you take out and do most of your miles in. They're light enough to do your long runs in. They're quick enough to go up tempo a little bit in. They're also comfortable enough to do some slower miles in these shoes. They've got enough cushioning for that, but they're not max cushion shoes in my humble opinion. You could argue with that though. So all three of these, like I said, they're reasonable weights around somewhere between the 260, 280 mark. And they're all, I would say, shoes that I would be prepared to go long in, do my long runs in or do my up-tempo workouts in. They're all pretty good shoes for that. They're your most versatile shoes of what we're talking about today. And so my third place shoe for the daily trainer category for 2024 was a late entry to my rotation. And it's a shoe I really like. It's the Hoka Skyflow. I was going to say Skyward X, but no, Skyflow. It's another Hoka shoe. What I like about this shoe is it feels fairly light. I think it's around sort of the 260, 270 mark, but it feels light on your feet. It's got a nice foam. It's not a PIBA foam. It's an EVA, supercritical EVA, but it's a nice foam. It's got a nice woven mesh like we've talked about on the other shoes. I have no heel lock problems whatsoever. It's fairly plush. You've got a nice plush tongue, nice padded collar, a nice padded heel counter. It's quite a stable shoe. You've got a decent base to land on. You've got some sidewalls that you can see here. It's not the biggest cushion underfoot. It's around the 39, 40mm mark, which is nice for doing the long runs, but it's not something that's going to feel unstable. And it's got a nice rocker. And what I like about the shoe the most is when I run in it, it feels very natural. There's no plate there, and it just glides me along. This rocker really works for me, and the way I land somewhere around here, it just rolls me through my stride. And so I really like this shoe. I don't like the colorway that much, but you can get new colorways in this that look much nicer than this. But all in all, it's a very natural shoe to run in, and I think it's one of my favorite shoes, of the year. For the daily trainer category, and it's a really understated shoe actually. So it's not an expensive shoe either. It's a competitive price point. I've seen this as low as 130 or around the 150 mark, and I think it retailed at 160, but it's come down a bit in price in certain places, and so I think it's really good value for money. But not actually as good value for money as the winner of this category, which we'll talk about in a minute. But still, Hoka smashed it out of the park again, just like with the Skyward X. They've got an amazing daily trainer, one that I would take this on many different types of runs, including up-tempo runs when I wanted to go a bit quicker because of this nice rocker. So that's the third place for daily trainer. Second place goes to a shoe that I absolutely love. It is the New Balance Balos, Fresh Foam X Balos. And for me, this shoe just works. I mean, it's got a really nice rocker. It's got a really nice foam X, this Fresh Foam X, which is really bouncy. It's perfect for the way I run because I land around here and it rolls me forward, just like with the Skyflow. I think the upper is good, slightly low volume for those who've got an issue with fat toes like me. You might find it a little bit tight on the toes, but it's wide, definitely wide enough for people with wider feet. It's not as plush as the Skyflow. It's got a very thin tongue and quite thinnish heel collar and counter, but it means the weight is slightly less in this shoe, around the 260 mark, which I think is really good for this type of shoe. I could definitely go up tempo in this shoe. I might even consider racing in this shoe. I can go that quickly in this. I get a lovely bounce out of this foam. Because of that, though, of the three shoes we're going to talk about in the daily trainer category, it's the least stable. You get slightly irregular bounce with this shoe at times. For me, that I'm fine. I don't need too much in the way of stability features, but for some people who do, just bear that in mind. You do have some sidewalls here to keep your foot locked in, and so all in all, I love this shoe. I would do this for easy miles. I would take this up tempo. I would even possibly race in this, and that's what gives it the edge over the Skyflow, which I wouldn't race in. This, I think you can go even quicker in this shoe, and for me then it's become slightly more versatile. The downside with this shoe is the price. It's still that out there at £200. I mean, I can't believe they're not discounting this, unless you've seen it anyway. If you put in the comments if you've seen anything this year at cheaper than that, but generally I don't see this discounted. Given that this is like $200 and they're charging £200 for this, it seems a bit of a price mismatch for me. So that's the biggest downside. But apart from that, there aren't really any other downsides to this shoe. It's an amazing shoe. So the winner of my daily trainer category, and is one of my shoes of the year, you got it, Nova Blast 5. I cannot actually pick anything about this shoe I do not like, apart from the grip isn't the best. It's not the worst, but it isn't the best. And that's the only downside to this shoe. It's light shoe, again around the 260, 270 mark, depending on your size. I'm a size 9. It's got a nice cushion, about 141 millimeters in the heel, so it's really nice and cushioned, but at the same time it feels quite light and nimble. It feels more nimble, I think, than the Skyflow. Similar to the Balos, actually, in terms of how light and nimble it feels on your feet. It's got an amazing look. I love the colorway. I love most of the colorways. The teal version of this looks striking as well. The upper just works for me. I don't feel it on my foot at all. I've got enough volume. So it's a better upper, in my opinion, than this shoe, and probably better than this shoe as well. You can cinch the laces tightly. It's got a tongue that's not overly padded, but it has this nice little protector here, you can see. So you can really cinch your laces in tight. It's a beautiful design. I have no heel collar issues with my, my Achilles or my heel. It's got nice padding around this area, and great lockdown. The midsole is brilliant, nice and soft and responsive. You just kind of glide across the surface in this shoe. There's no issues whatsoever with the midsole. I think it's brilliant. It's just perfect for those long runs, or you can go a bit quicker and up tempo in this shoe. You could possibly race in this shoe as well. These are similar in terms of speed, I would imagine. I personally wouldn't race in either of them, but you could. I saw someone racing a 10K in this recently, and that person was doing rather well. So you can obviously run fast in this shoe. The only downside is the grip. If it's really icy out there or wet weather, you might want to give this a miss. And that really is it in terms of downsides, because this is £135, folks. This is a bargain compared to any of the shoes that we've actually spoke about today, apart from maybe the More V5. Absolute bargain. It's a do-it-all shoe, and one that I can't recommend highly enough. Just be careful on those icy, wet, really wet. Watch the drain covers, that kind of thing. But apart from that, superb. I wore this in China. It was a bit wet. There was some marbly like surface, and I could feel a little bit of slippage on those. So if it's icy, you might have a problem with this shoe. But apart from that, I can't recommend this enough. And it's actually, I prefer running in this than the Super Blast, actually. I haven't got the Super Blast 2, but the Super Blast. And that says it all, really. If it's got me away from the Super Blast, it must be a hell of a shoe. So the Nova Blast A6 Nova Blast 5 is my daily trainer of the year, the 2024 Daily Trainer of the Year. Right, it's now time for one of my favourite categories, because you all know I like cushioned shoes. Not just because it makes me taller, but also because I've had some injuries in the past. For those that know about my story, I was hit by a car. My first pair of running shoes that I used afterwards were the Nike Invincibles. For that reason, I needed something with cushioning to help with my injuries. And, since that day, I've just got used to running in highly cushioned shoes. So it's good for me at the moment because they're in vogue, and you tend to get a lot of shoes out there now that are max cushioned. And there's a few that didn't make this list that could have easily made this list, but these are the three I've gone for. Just bear in mind, I don't have the Super Blast, Super Blast 2. Sorry, I've got Super Blast 1. That is a notable exception to this list, and some of you may have wondered why I'm not mentioning the Super Blast 2 in this review of 2024. I just don't have it. I've got the first one. I was told there's not much difference, so I didn't want to particularly waste money on that shoe. Okay, so in third place of the Max Cushion Daily Trainer, these super Max Cushion shoes, we have again the Hoka Skyward X. So we've mentioned quite a lot about this shoe already. Massive stack height, 48 millimeters, my UK size 9. It's a heavy shoe around the 220 mark. It's so bouncy, and like I said, with the concave plate that you can see the kind of shape of it there, it just bounces you up and down. It's got a nice rocker to keep you rolling forward, and it is generally one of my favourite shoes to run in on any day, right? If it's one of these shoes that I love just to pick up and just run at any time. So I would say this, the only reason this didn't come higher than the third place is because we've got some exceptional other shoes to talk about here. So let's talk about them, given that we've talked about this already. Oh, by the way, I didn't think I mentioned the grip's pretty good on this as well. The only downside, I think, with this shoe, and it's fairly stable given how wide it is, the base. I guess the only downside, apart from the weight, and I'm not too bothered about the weight. In fact, I like running in heavier shoes because then when I race in lighter shoes, it feels so much easier. So this is fine for me. And with the energy return you get from this, you don't really notice the weight so much. I think the only downside is durability. I think I'm wearing away the tread a little bit here, and also the sides scuff very easily, as you can see here. So there's a slight issue for me on wearability, but generally it's a really nice Piba foam. It's the way, like I said, the way I've described this is plush comfort, and one that if I had to do an ultra tomorrow, this would be high up in my list of shoes to do. So this is number 3 in my Max Daily Cushion Trainer list, the Hoka Skyward X. Number 2 is from a company that's had a very good year, and this is a shoe I really like, and lots of people out there I know really like it as well. And this is the Mizuno Neo Vista. So what do I like about this shoe? Why has it got as high as number 2 in this Max Cushion Daily Trainer category? Well, first and foremost, I love this upper. And I know some people have complained it's a bit hot, or they don't like it coming up like this, or it looks a bit like a Smurf shoe, looks a bit ridiculous. I get all that. In this country, the heat side of things doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not one who's obsessed with the look of a running shoe. If it's a really good shoe, I'll put up with something that looks a bit weird. They've got a nice black colorway now of this that looks better, I think, anyway. And this knit sock-like upper, for me, just works. It hugs the foot perfectly. I get no heel slippage whatsoever. I don't notice this shoe on whatsoever. I think this is one of my favourite uppers of the year. You've got this nice rubber tab here, so you can cinch the laces tight. And you, like I said, you get no movement whatsoever in this shoe, or at least I don't. It's a fantastic upper and just works for me. And then you've got this design of this shoe that they've really worked out, I think. So immediately when you turn it over, you can see this big cutout, and you would think that could be a negative, right? Could make it unstable, or you catch rocks. But for me, that upper, this cutout actually works, because when you land, it splays the rubber, and it gives you that extra little bit of suction, a tiny bit of suction that adds to the stability of the shoe. So it's already a wide footprint, but when you land, it goes a little bit wider, and you get this nice little suction that you feel. And particularly on wet days, when you're running around, you need that with this shoe, because the soft rubber grip isn't the most grippy. So that's the negative. The grip could be better. Mizuno generally have very good grip, but they went for a soft rubber here, I think for comfort reasons. It's not as grippy as like the Wave Rebellion Pro Beta grip, but that's a lot harder and a lot more tacky. This is a softer rubber, so it's more comfortable, but on wet days, a bit like with the Nova Blast, you just got to be careful with this shoe. Although, as I said, this suction that you get when it splays helps a little bit with that. I haven't had any rocks caught in this, actually, which you think you would. I think it's almost too wide for most of the rocks that you would catch. They just come out, which is ironic, really. And like I said, it's got a nice wide platform. The geometry of this shoe just works for me. I mean, if you're a midfoot strike and you land about here, you're going to get this lovely roll through. There's a little bump there, lovely roll through. I'm in the forefoot here, so for me it works as well. It's got a nice rocker, and it just rocks me forward. I can cruise in this shoe. The foam is nice and soft, but not mushy, in my opinion. Some people say that they find it mushy. I think the heel strikers maybe is a bit mushier in the heel, but under the forefoot, it comes to life, this midsole. As soon as you land around here, it feels a lot firmer, and if you go a little bit quicker in this shoe, so although you could use this for easy pace, it comes alive when you're at that kind of middle pace to quicker pace. So I could even use this for up-tempo runs. So it's a very versatile shoe, one that's really nice on your foot, really nice design, competitively priced. It's sort of I've seen this as low as kind of £120. I think it came out at sort of 159 or 149. It could be corrected there, but around that price point, and I think that's a good value for this shoe. It's got a nylon plate, I should add, so it has got a plate that adds to the stability of this shoe. Because the foam is quite soft, I think that plate acts more for stability than actually propulsion. You don't get that much propulsion, I don't think, from that plate. It just keeps the foam nice and stable. So that's my number 2, the Mizuno Neo Vista, which I think is an excellent purchase. Anyone looking for a shoe that's very versatile, that's max cushioned, a shoe that you can go up tempo in, but you can do slow runs or just gently cruise along at a sort of medium pace. This is a perfect shoe, and for me, it just works. So number 1 in the max cushion daily trainer category is the Hoka Max X2. So caveat out of the way to start with, those that have had the heel issue, the heel lock issue, or the heel rub issue, I understand you may be listening to this and thinking, really? Well, I didn't have any of that. In fact, it's one of the more comfortable shoes that I own. It works for me, this shoe. It's a lovely feel on the foot. It's not got this woven, it's got this mesh upper that's more of a race day upper. It feels very light on your feet. I think it's around 260 grams, if I remember rightly. It's got a kind of stack of about 43 millimeters, so it's not as high as the Hoka, similar to the Neo Vista, similar weight to the Neo Vista. It's lighter than the Skyward X. And it's one shoe that I could definitely race in this shoe. I could consider marathon in this shoe, but I also don't mind it at slower paces. Like I said, it's got that race fit upper that kind of works for me. I've got no issues with lockdown there. It's wide enough for my foot. It doesn't taper in dramatically like some shoes. It stays wide all the way. I went up a size, a 9.5. I think I could have gone true to size in this shoe, but I've got plenty of room, which is fine for me. Tongue is quite thin, but I had no problems when I cinched the laces. It protected the top of my foot fine. So, it was great. And then you've got this outsole here, which is actually quite grippy. It's similar to the Cielo X1. Hoka in general, the outsoles are pretty good. And this grip fine. You can see there the nylon plate showing through here, which adds again to the stability of the shoe. You can see that it's winged here that comes out to the side, again keeping your foot locked in. Had no stability issues with this shoe or grip issues. So the outsole really good. I think it'd be a durable shoe, and yeah, like I said, the plate acts as a kind of stability agent. But it does give you, in this shoe, unlike with the Neo Vista, it gives you a bit of oomph, this plate, and I feel myself taking off a bit with this shoe in terms of it propelling me forward. And then you've got this dual density foam with the green PIBA and the orange EVA foam here, and you can see a lot of this green is under the forefoot where I land, so I get a nice bounce with the foam and the plate just being underneath around about, well, you can see it actually round about here. Foam squashes and the plate bounces me forward. I can pick up the pace in this shoe. Like I said, I can go slower, medium pace. It's very versatile. Love this shoe to bits. And like I said, if it wasn't for the next category, which is the race shoes, if it wasn't for the fact I own a lot of those race shoes, I could definitely race in this shoe. I could do a 5K, 10K, half marathon in this shoe, and I think it would perform really well. I've got friends who've done marathons in this shoe, and they said it was an amazing shoe. So an all-rounder, a really good shoe, as long as you don't have the heel collar issues, and around 160, 170 pounds, it's a decent price for a shoe that can essentially do everything that you need. One that you want to put on, if you like the feel of the Cielo, you've got this nice PIBA foam. It's not as soft as the Cielo, it's firmer. So in that respect, maybe a little bit less crazy in Cielo. So if you're someone who found the Cielo too aggressive and the foam too soft and bouncy, then this I think could be an absolute winner for you. So the Hoka Max X2 is my max cushion daily trainer of the year. So the next category is for those that want to go quick. These are our super racing shoes of the year. 2024 super racing shoes. And these three shoes I'm going to pick out are three shoes that I feel, when I've run in them this year, they've given me that extra bit of oomph. And these are, I've done racing, I've done 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. So all of the shoes that I'm going to talk about here, I think I could race any of those distances in. Some more than others. Some are slightly better at other distances than other. Some are better at the shorter distances. Some are better at the marathon distance. But all three, I think I could take marathon distance. What is common about all three is they're all quick shoes, and they're all shoes that I think on a race day, if you've got them on, you're going to feel ready to kind of burn some rubber, as they say, and just move really quickly. Like I said, I could easily run a 5K in these, and I could also run a marathon. So and they're all carbon plated. They're all similar in terms of the race legal. They're all around the 40mm stack height. They've got different geometries and the different weights and stuff like that, and we'll talk through that in a minute. But without further ado, let's go into our third place racing shoe of the year, and that goes to the Nike Alpha Fly 3. And this is not a shoe that I expected to have in the top three, but actually my most successful race of the year, a 10K in Battersea Park when I came second, was in this shoe. And although this shoe, in my opinion, is not the most comfortable shoe to run in, it quite possibly is the most effective shoe that I own. I was able to kind of pick up pace in this shoe without really feeling like I was going fast. It encouraged kind of quick turnover, quick cadence, and it felt really good because I'm landing pretty much here on the pods. So for me, it's the perfect kind of position for me to land on, because as soon as I land, the pods compress and I get that nice push forward. So I get nice energy return with this shoe. It's very much a cruiser though. You set a pace and you just leave that pace and you just cruise along very effortlessly at that pace. And I think that's the key to how good the Alpha Fly 3 is. It feels effortless to run at a very quick pace in this shoe. It doesn't require me to overexert myself like some of the other shoes, like the Wave Rebellion Pro Beat. I feel like I'm having to exert myself a little bit too much in that shoe, even though I love that shoe, by the way. We'll maybe talk a bit about that later. But this is, I think, a more efficient shoe, and it's one where I kind of have, I guess, a love-hate relationship, because there are nicer shoes to run in, more comfy shoes to run in, shoes that I feel are more stable, though it's not an unstable shoe. Things I really like about this shoe, the upper is amazing. Again, like the Neo Vista, it just clings to your foot and you don't realise it's there. I have no issues whatsoever with this upper, fit perfectly, nice wide toe box area, nice, I was going to say nice padding in the tongue, but it's not. It's, as you can see, it's all in one, knitted. It's like sock-like, but you are able to cinch the laces tight, and there was no bite on the top of my foot, which is great. I got perfect lockdown in this shoe. I went true to size, UK size 9, and it fit like a glove. So the upper was amazing. Grip was really good. Can't fault the grip. I land here, so I've got all this tacky rubber grip. I had no slippy, and it was a wet, windy day that I ran in this shoe. I had no issues whatsoever with the grip. I think there will be some people who have durability issues, particularly heel landers or midfoot landers, where you've got all this exposed foam and very little rubber coverage. But those of us like me that land here, they're going to have all this kind of nice padding and grippy rubber to land on. I think this is a 4-foot lander shoe, to be honest, because of where the pods are. But I've been told by heel strikers this also is quite effective, because it's got a nice bevel where you land and you roll through onto the 4-foot very elegantly and quickly. It's probably now my favourite Alpha Fly. I like the version 1, didn't like 2. I do like this shoe, and I think it's light. It comes in at kind of 220 grams, so really competitive in terms of weight, given how big this shoe is. It feels quite big on you, so maybe some people see that as a negative. But for me, who likes to just set and cruise, I don't mind if it feels a little bit big. Probably for more intricate courses with lots of twists and turns, you'd be better served with something else. But for pure speed, it's pretty hard to beat this shoe, to be honest. So third place for my racing shoe of the year is the Alpha Fly 3. One major downside, obviously, is the price and the availability at £289, and the fact that it's hard to get hold of this shoe meant that I didn't get it until later in the year, even though it was the first super shoe really to launch, racing super shoe to launch this year. I didn't get it until it was like a lot later in the year, which is a bit annoying. So Nike, do everyone a favour, reduce the price of this shoe and make it more readily available, and you're going to have like the market leader. But you just can't get hold of this shoe, or at least I couldn't anyway. So, but it has surprised me how good this shoe is. It's the kind of shoe that I didn't want to love, if I'm being honest, but I ended up loving it. So fair play, Nike, to be honest. You've produced a really good shoe here, and one that makes the top three just. Okay. At number 2, and this could easily have been number 1, one of the shoes of the year, no doubt. And its brother, the Edge Paris, could easily have been here in its place. But I picked the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris over the Edge for its versatility. So why is it more versatile? I think for me anyway, it's got a wider landing base. It's got a really nice plate position that's really nice and bouncy. I feel like it's, I get a really nice bounce. It feels less dense than the Edge under my foot. I feel like with this shoe, I could do 5K, but I could also take this the marathon distance. It wouldn't be my first choice for a marathon, just purely because it is narrow around the midfoot and the heel. And as I start to tire and go further back in the shoe, I might have some stability issues. But it is a really lovely shoe to run in. The major asset of this shoe is how light it is. It's one of my lightest shoes. Until I bought the 361 degrees Miro recently, this was my lightest shoe at 180 grams. You barely notice this on your feet. The upper's really nice. Doesn't get in the way of anything. It's wide enough, it's stretchy enough. Really like the upper. It's got nice padding, despite how light it is. It's got good padding around the heel collar and the heel. A perfect lockdown in this shoe. It's a really elegant, nimble shoe that when you put on, you just want to go fast. Encourages both nice cadence, but also encourages you to hit the ground hard, and stride away with speed. And down the straights, this is a pretty good shoe, as it is round corners. So it's a very nimble, all-round, absolute speed demon. What I also like about this shoe for me is it's got a lot of it. It's got a low drop. So it's got 40 millimeter, 34 millimeter in the forefoot. So I like that extra padding under my forefoot, because this is where I land. And like I said, this is one of the shoes where I really do feel I'm engaging that plate. It gives me a really nice toe spring. It's probably the best shoe that I own in terms of toe springs. If you're one of these runners who likes that toe spring, rather than not being able to do much with your toes apart from roll forward, this one you definitely engage your toes. And so the rocker has got a nice rocker, but it's not extreme like the Endorphin Elite, for instance. So there is some need to actually use that toe spring to propel yourself forward. So absolute blinding shoe by Asics, and I've just favoured it over the Nike because of how light it is and how nimble it is, and I think I can use this on more different types of races. But that said, there's not a lot between the two shoes in terms of pace. This shoe actually might be quicker down some long straights. This shoe, definitely, if you've got a lot of turns or hills, definitely go for this shoe. This is the best shoe I own for going up hills. light as a feather. It feels effortless running up a hill in this shoe. So A6 Metaspeed Sky Paris, 100% in my top 3. At number 2, its price is actually at £220. It's quite competitive compared to the other 2 in this, in this top 3. So another reason why it beats the Nike Alpha Fly 3. And is quite rightly in second place, could have even been first. But for my love of the shoe, that is going to be my number 1 racing shoe of the year. And I think you might know what this is. Yep, it's the Hoka Cielo X1. So it joins the Mach X2 at winning a category. So Hoka, for me, have had an absolute blinding year. And a lot of that's to do with this amazing foam they've now got. And this shoe has got the most fun ride I've had since the Prime X strung. But not only fun, it's got an aggressive rocker with it, which means I can fly in this shoe. And it feels so nice to pick up the pace. When I run in this shoe, I don't get any Achilles issues. I don't have any knee problems. I can run a long way in this shoe, and my legs feel nice and comfortable. It's got a soft but structured feel to it with this wing carbon plate. It keeps your foot centered. I find it actually remarkably stable, given how soft and how aggressive this shoe is in the geometry. I haven't got a problem like some people have with the upper. Yes, it could be lighter. Yes, it could be more breathable. But I actually quite like it. It gives me a lot of room in the toe box. I have no problems with my toes rubbing with this. I get a lot of volume. The laces, once you double knot them and you get them in place, they stay in place. So I've got no issues like a lot of reviewers seem to be obsessed with the laces. They're maybe not the best laces. They're maybe not as good as the ridge laces you have in the Sky Paris or the Alpha Fly. But they're nothing to get too worked up about, like some reviewers seem to have. All in all, no lockdown issues. Found the upper very comfortable. It's got quite a rigid heel counter, but I never felt any issues in my Achilles. And this is the one shoe, if my legs are feeling beaten up, and if I'm not even racing, but I want a shoe just to go out for a run and run quick in, this will be my shoe. So that's part of the reason why this wins this category. The other 2 shoes that I've talked about before may be the equal, if not slightly quicker than this shoe. But with this shoe, I can use this shoe as to go on long marathon pace training runs, as well as racing anything from 5K to a marathon in this shoe. I have my marathon PB time at 2:55 in this shoe. This outperformed the Endorphin Elite, which is supposed to be a faster shoe over the marathon distance for me. I have my second fastest half marathon time in this shoe at 1 hour 22 at the Hackney Half, where it performed really well. I'd just done a midweek race on the Wednesday for my club, and my legs hadn't recovered. And I ran the Hackney Half in this, and it did remarkably well. I've done really fast 5Ks in this, around the 17:30 something mark in Oak Hill, which is around my fastest time around that circuit, Oak Hill Park Run. So this is right up there with all the shoes I've mentioned for my fastest times around that Oak Hill Park Run. So you can move in this shoe. It's rapid. I've done races for my club in this shoe over a variety of different terrains. So through Trent Park, which is that kind of light trail where it's compacted mud and tree roots and loose gravel. This is an amazing shoe. It's durable, it's bouncy, it's fun, it's stable, it's quick, it's a bit jazzy. What more can I say? It's all of these things. It's the closest thing to the Prime X in terms of a fun shoe, but it's far more stable than that shoe. By the way, Prime X is still my 5K PB is still in that shoe. So The Prime X, I know it's not a 2000, by no means a 2024 shoe, but it's still punching its weight in terms of speed. But back with the Hoka Cielo, I honestly think this has brought me so much fun and so much delight during this year of running that I couldn't possibly not vote this as my number one shoe. As I said, it isn't necessarily the fastest over the short distances, but for me, marathon distance, it's definitely the fastest. It's comfortable over that distance. The weight is not an issue for me. It's around 264 grams. So it's a lot heavier than this shoe, 80 grams heavier than this shoe. It's a good 40 grams heavier than this shoe. But I really, because of how bouncy and how much energy return you get from this and how rockered the ride is, I just do not feel the weight. And that for me is not an issue whatsoever. And those people who just bang on and on and on about the weight of this shoe, it's because they're looking for an excuse not to like it, as far as I'm concerned, because everything else about this shoe is pure magic. So the Hoka Cielo X1 is my carbon super racing shoe of the year. And yeah, I would recommend this to anybody looking to do a marathon or a half marathon, even a 5, 10K. A do-it-all racing shoe that you can take long, use for training, marathon training on your long runs. It's durable and stable. What more can you say? It's the perfect, for me, racing shoe out there on the market. So that's the end. That's it for the racing category. So we have some noticeable exceptions that, racing shoes that I wanted to include in this final three, but I only had three kind of positions. So the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 is an amazing shoe. It's light, bouncy, quick, and for many people, I think that it would be in their top three. Puma have nailed it with this shoe. They really have. It's a lovely ride, one which I'm hoping to take on many more 5, 10Ks, possibly half marathons. And that's probably the reason why I didn't quite get in my top three. I would be reluctant to take the marathon distance, just simply because it's quite narrow and the foam is on the firm side for me compared to the other three shoes that I mentioned. But this is a remarkable shoe from Puma this year. Another shoe that you've seen me wear a lot recently is the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro Beta. It's an amazing bouncy ride. It's got this crazy geometry. Definitely not a shoe for everyone. I think midfoot strikers are going to love this shoe. I like it. I love this bouncy, soft foam. The plate for me acts more like a stabling agent. I get a lovely spring in this shoe. I think it's definitely for me a half marathon shoe. I find it's a bit too soft. And my foot sinks into it a little bit too much for the shorter distances. But over those longer distances, I think this will, the comfort that I get from this shoe and how soft and springy and bouncy and good energy return, I think this is where this will come to the fore. So this is for many people, particularly if you're a midfoot striker, this could be in your top three. And finally, a very underrated shoe, in my opinion, Maximilian or Max, you'll know what I mean here, the Diodora Gara Carbon. It's a beautiful looking shoe from a really nice brand. Because it's not one of the big running shoe brands, I think it's been overlooked, this shoe. It's a stable version of the Sky Paris, very similar but wider. Not quite as light, but for those that need a more stable ride than this shoe offers because of how narrow it is, this is perfect. I love this shoe. It could easily have made my top three. And if I hadn't run that well in that race in the Nike, I think this would have definitely been a contender for top three. But it just sits outside for me because I think I can go faster in the other shoes. But for me, it's the most stable super racing shoe of the lot. And if you've got stability needs, I think this is an amazing shoe with magic foam. Foam in this shoe is soft, bouncy, propulsive, and just superb. And The only downside with this shoe, two downsides: durability and the price at $250. By the way, that is the one downside with this yellow. I should have mentioned the price. I think it should be around the $220 mark, like the A6 shoe. And hopefully these running brands will not continue to get greedy like they're doing and just forcing the price up in all their shoes. Hopefully we'll see a bit of a change in that, because people will stop or will refuse to buy shoes that are that expensive. But I have my doubts, because we're all kind of addicted, aren't we? So that's my super shoe category over, and we've got two more now. We've got trail shoes, and then we've got the final overall shoes of the year. A bit of a bonus category this year. For the first year, I've been doing a bit more traily-like running, and I've got a couple of trail shoes that I've used this year that I think are really good. So it's not really an award, but just to tell you about the two shoes. So in terms of a trail shoe that I think is a fast, nimble, propulsive trail shoe that I really like. I really like running in, and again, it's from Hoka. It's the Tecton X3, this weird looking shoe. I know, again, aesthetically you may not like the look of it. It's got that sock-like feel. What's this called? I think this is called Gator, isn't it? It's got a Gator that comes up quite a high way, long way. But it's fairly decent size in the toe box. I have no issues whatsoever with the upper. Cling to my foot really nicely. The Vibram grip I found was really good, as long as it wasn't too technical. It was fine. Coat with tree roots, loose gravel, mud, really well. So all in all, really good, nice grip. I think it's 4mm lugs, if I remember rightly. So decent penetration into the ground with the lugs. And you've got the carbon plate in this shoe that you can actually feel, actually. You can see it's winged, again, to provide stability. But you can feel that actually, particularly when you actually go on the concrete or harder surfaces, you feel that at work. So I think a really good trail shoe for those races that you know are going to have a mixture of trail and maybe some concrete, or races where you know it's going to be hard, compacted mud. Maybe not one for the soggy British cross-country season, although I guess you could wear it, but you might be it might be a bit too much for this shoe. But I particularly like this shoe because I felt it was very light and nimble, and you know, for a trail shoe coming in at under 300 grams, I thought that was a pretty good effort, to be honest, by Hoka. And it's got PEBA foam as well. Not many of these trail shoes have PEBA foam, and you can really feel how kind of the energy return from the plate and the foam in this shoe. And then as a kind of edge case, you know, I like Max Cushion. I really love the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 Trail shoe. It's very much like the More V4, More V5, but it's got the Vibram, and it's got these huge lugs, 5mm lugs. And I've used this in Trent Park, my local park, on not massively muddy days, but wet days, and it coped really well. It's such a lovely bouncy ride, as well, as you'd expect with all this stack of foam. It's got these high sidewalls that keeps your foot locked in, so it's got that center path technology that keeps your foot centered. Very stable shoe given its size. I went down some hills with lots of loose gravel and tree roots, and it performed really well. It's heavy, so it's around 330-40 grams, so it's not a light shoe whatsoever. So it's not one I would particularly use for racing, but one that you want to go across some trails that aren't too technical in comfort, with a lot of cushion, a lot of bounce, and on the road, and you've got some tarmac sections. This feels lovely going over tarmac as well. So this is a really good shoe, and competitively priced. I think I paid £90 for this, actually. So again, New Balance, apart from the Balos, which they seem to have gone ridiculously the other way. They seem to have some decent value price shoes on the market. So the New Balance Fresh Foam Morvi 3 trail shoe I'd highly recommend for those that want a really cushioned, bouncy but still stable and grippy ride. So this is my 2024 overall shoe of the year. So this is a shoe that excels not only in its own category but in all other categories. And I'm gonna do a top 3 again because I don't want to limit it to just one. But there are 3, for me anyway. There are 3 shoes that stand out this year. So we'll go into 3rd place. Is the Hoka Max X2. As we've already discussed with this shoe, this is a very versatile shoe that you could use on a slowish run, but you could also go up tempo in this shoe and even race in this shoe. And for me, I feel like this is an absolute belter of a shoe that's an all-rounder, something that if you wanted one shoe to do it all, one ring to rule them all, I was watching Lord of the Rings last night, one shoe to rule them all, this could well be it. And there isn't much I can fault with this shoe. I had no issues with the heel lock, as I said. So for me, the only negatives weren't an issue for me. So I hear there's a new version of this coming that will eradicate, or supposedly eradicate, those heel lock, heel rub issues. So all I can say is when that comes out, those who had an issue with the Mac X2, get that shoe bought, because if they don't mess around with the midsole or the grip or the outsole, you've got an absolute blinding shoe. And for me, it's definitely in the top 3 shoes of 2024, the Hoka Max X2. In 2nd place, and only narrowly missing out on the top award, is the Nova Blast 5. So this, along with the number 1 shoe, is a shoe that I will reach for the most often in all of my shoes in my rotation, my shoe collection rather. The reason being, I can literally do any run in this shoe. I can even race in this shoe. Wouldn't choose to race in it, but I could. It looks brilliant. I can take this down the gym. There's nothing I do not like about this shoe, and the price is a really good price. And you know, you could argue with all these things it should be number 1, but I have a standout shoe that we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, for me, if you're only going to buy one shoe this year, this is your shoe. And you literally can do everything in it. Like I said, I saw someone racing in this shoe, and they were racing pretty damn hard and going fast in this shoe. So you can go fast in this shoe. So yeah, Nova Blast 5 for me is the number 2 in the shoe of 2024. It could easily be number 1, to be honest. And many of you probably think it should be. But for me, number 1, you know what I'm going to say here, is the CLO X1. And I've said it all already, so I'm not going to go into too many details, other than this shoe I want to put on more than any of the other shoes for any type of run, right? That should say something to you here. If I want to go slow and I want to go in comfort, I'll probably reach for this as much as I would the Morvi 5, because of how nice it is and comfortable it is for me to run in this shoe. It works for me. But if I want to go fast or marathon pace for a long distance, or do a really hard workout where I'm really pushing the extremities of what I can do, it's this shoe. 100% this shoe over all the other shoes. Even above the Prime X Run 2, which isn't a 2024 shoe, or the original Prime X, this now has superseded those shoes. If I want to take this on a race where I know there's going to be, some uneven surfaces, some woodland, tree roots, blah, 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 I would take this shoe. As long as it's not too muddy or too slippy, I'll take this shoe. I've taken this shoe on 5K, 10K, half marathon and marathon races. And for the marathon in particular, it outshone every single shoe that I own. It's pretty much outshone all of them at half marathon as well. It gets a bit more competitive, as you might expect, 10K and 5K, but it punches above its weight in those disciplines, and mainly because of its weight. It's pretty remarkable that it can do that, with it being a heavier shoe than like your Sky Paris or your Puma shoe that you've got here, DV8 Nitro Elite 3. It's a heavier shoe than all of those. It's even heavier than this Suede Rebellion Beta. It's still competitive at those quicker races. So for me, this is the one shoe to do it all. If you go back to Lord of the Rings analogy again, this is the shoe to rule them all, as far as I'm concerned. This year, in 2024, I am so looking forward to the next version of this, where they're reducing this weight on this by 40 grams. So we're going to see it down at the 224 kind of territory, which brings it in line with the Alpha Fly 3 in terms of weight, just to give you an idea. So Cielo X1 has been crowned the runnable shoe of the year, but obviously very close second was the Nova Blast 5, a superb shoe, and a good third place goes to the Mac X2. And with these two shoes, I'm going to crown Hoka as the running shoe brand of the year for me. These, along with the Skyward X, mean for me that it has pretty much my entire rotation covered, and they're all top of their categories. They're all in the top 3, if not the top. These two finished top of their categories: Daily Trainer, Super Racer. So Hoka for me have absolutely smashed it this year. Noticeable, it's notable that ASICS as well have had a really good year with the Meta Speeds, also with the Nova Blast. So well done ASICS there, right up there with Hoka this year, producing such an amazing shoes across the breadth of running disciplines. Hope you've enjoyed the Runnable 2024 running shoe reviews of the year. Please, in the comments, put what you think about my choices, whether you agree, disagree, some of the shoes that I've missed out. I haven't had a chance to test the Zoom Fly 6 that everyone keeps talking about. That could be a possible contender, particularly in the Daily Trainer category. But by and large, they're definitely my favourite shoes of the year, and shoes that I think you can all get a lot of value from. But please add anything in the comments you think valuable to this discussion, because I'm keen to hear all your favourite shoes of the year. Stick to 2024 if that's okay. Obviously, I could have mentioned the Prime X and Prime X Strung and even the Endorphin Elite, but they're from previous years. So the discussion was mainly around, totally around the 2024 shoes releases. And let's look forward to 2025, where we've got some amazing shoes coming up, like the Endorphin Elite 2, like the Adios Pro 4, like the Cloud Boom Strike LS, which I know has been released, had a kind of like initial release, but we'll get a wider release next year. We're going to have changes, no doubt, to the Nike offerings. Maybe, you never know, maybe we'll see the Prime X3. There's rumours that the Prime X3 is on its way. We're going to have the Cielo, whether it's the Cielo X2 or 1.5. I'm really looking forward to that shoe. Mac X2 is going to get a new upper, so that for those that had issues with the Mac X2 and the heel lock and the heel rub, you may be able to use that shoe and have an amazing shoe on your hands. So yes, there's lots of different shoes coming our way, just in time for our marathons, and they're very strategic, these shoe brand companies. They'll time it they'll do drops just before the big marathons. So expect one sort of early springtime. just before, ahead of the London Marathon. In particular, I think in that one, we'll see the Endorphin Elite 2 more widely released, and that will be on the feet of a lot of marathon runners this year, I'm sure. That's all I want to say. I hope you've enjoyed this Runnable review of 2024. But like I said, please add anything you'd like in the comments, and I'm wishing you a very happy new year, and I'm wishing all of you success, in your goals for 2025. And please share this journey with me, and we'll all kind of engage together as the year goes on. I'm looking forward to 2025 even more than I did 2024, and looking forward in particular to London and New York, smashing those times, hopefully, fingers crossed, and also doing all the park runs and the community side of running, which I love so much. So take care, everyone, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.